Am I audible?
Yeah,
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I think we can start. You have to read the last two paragraphs of this chapter today. Who would like to begin? Who would like to start reading?
I can read.
Please go ahead, sir.
Sannyasa is the renunciation.
The previous one. Arjuna is the Kshatriya.
Okay. Arjuna is the Kshatriya, the Rajasic man who governs his Rajasic action by a high Sattvic ideal. He advances to this gigantic struggle, to this Kurukshetra, with the full acceptance of the joy of battle as to a holiday of fight, but with a proud confidence in the righteousness of his cause. He advances in his rapid chariot, tearing the hearts of his enemies with the victorious clamor of his war conch. For he wishes to look upon all these kings of men who have come here to champion against him the cause of unrighteousness and establish as a rule of life the disregard of law, justice, and truth, which they would replace by the rule of a selfish and arrogant egoism. When this confidence is shattered within him, when he is smitten down from his customary attitude and mental basis of life, it is by the uprush of the tamasic quality into the rajasic man, inducing a recoil of astonishment, grief, horror, dismay, dejection, bewilderment of the mind, and the war of reason against itself, a collapse towards the principle of ignorance and inertia. As a result, he turns towards renunciation. Better the life of the mendicant living upon alms than this dharma of the Kshatriya, this battle and action, culminating in undiscriminating massacre, this principle of mastery and glory and power, which can only be won by destruction and bloodshed, this conquest of blood stained enjoyments, this vindication of justice and right by a means which contradicts all righteousness, and this affirmation of the social law by a war which destroys in its process and result all that constitutes society.
Right. Thank you, Yogesh ji. So today is the first day of Navaratri and the annual battle of the Divine Mother, where she is slaying all these demons on the occult planes. One can feel the difference in the atmosphere somewhat. Right. So Arjuna is the Kshatriya, the Rajasic man who governs his Rajasic action by a high Sattvic ideal. So the paragraph before last, we had covered all these permutations and combinations of the gunas. So he's stating clearly as to who the protagonist of the Mahabharata war is, as far as Arjuna is the protagonist of the Mahabharata war, and as far as this context is concerned. Who is Neha? Not seen before. Anyway, somebody, Rupa ji, I know. Okay. Arjuna is the Kshatriya. Can anybody remove these yellow lines which have come on the screen? Is it possible? No? Okay. Arjuna is the Kshatriya, the Rajasic man who governs his Rajasic action by a high Sattvic ideal. If we
It is annotation.
this some, but by mistake, these lines have come. Are they visible to everybody?
But you can delete them, Anmol. Bhai, you are.
How?
So annotation you can clear
Yeah,
it
I'll
off.
leave it.
It is
I'll leave it.
annotation.
Doesn't matter. मुझे नहीं करना आएगा. I
ठीक
might
ठीक
do something
ठीक
else. I've not done it before.
ठीक.
Okay. So if we remember the name Arjuna, its definition that had been given earlier, somewhere where it purified and light filled soul, something like this. So basically the word Arjuna meaning or signifying white, and the word Krishna meaning dark. And thereby the two complementary parts in the human being, the Nara and Narayana, Arjuna being Nara and Krishna being the Narayana, that sort of thing. So it's a reference to that again here, light filled soul. ऐसे करके एक था reference, पहले आया था, 1 second में अगर जल्दी मिल जाएगा. Yes, page number 21 पे. He is, that is to say, the sattvic or purified and light filled soul. So he's dominated by the his Rajoguna is basically under the domination of a high sattvic ideal. Okay. He advances to this gigantic struggle, to this Kurukshetra, with the full acceptance of the joy of battle as to a holiday of fight. Yeah. Yuyutsavaha. This is, I think, in the very first shloka it comes. Dhritarashtra Vacha. Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yuyutsavaha. Eager to fight. Holiday of fight के लिए एक और word है. I'll find out and post it here. But with a proud confidence in the righteousness of his cause. He advances in his rapid chariot, tearing the hearts of his enemies with the victorious clamor of his war conch, which is named Devadatta. Panchajanyam Rishikesho Devadattam Dhananjaya. Devadatta literally means given by God. For he wishes to look upon all these kings of men who have come here to champion against him the cause of unrighteousness and establish as a rule of life the disregard of law, justice and truth, which they would replace by the rule of a selfish and arrogant egoism. Senayor bhayor madhye ratham sthapayamechita yavadetan niriksheham yodhu kaman avasthitan. Place my chariot right between the two armies. Senayor bhayor madhye ratham sthapaya me achyuta yavadetan niriksheham. From where I can do the nirikshan. Niriksheham yodhu kaman avasthitan. Who are these who have appeared here? Avasthit हुए हैं, stationed हुए हैं. Yodhu kaman, with the desire for yuddha. Right? This is a shloka. When this confidence is shattered within him, when he is smitten down from his customary attitude and mental basis of life, it is by the uprush of the tamasic quality into the rajasic man. This is very important from gunas and psychological perspective. The uprush of the tamasic quality into the rajasic man. I don't want to fight. I want to escape from this whole enterprise, basically. And if I might say, in a larger sense, India में जो problem हुआ है, this kind of spirituality, which has basically promoted sannyasa as the highest ideal of life for so long now. Because of that, the whole nation has sunk into tamas. Otherwise, such a, I mean, just think about it if you do it. A bunch of pirates comes from so far away in their boats and they capture us for 200 years. It is unthinkable. Now that we are, free for so many years, if we look back and like, how was it even possible? In what kind of tamas did we fall, for that kind of thing to happen to us? Anyway, so it is by the uprush of the tamasic quality into the rajasic action. Tamas को हमने कैसे describe किया था? Aprakarshah apravritti. Okay, so there is no light. He doesn't know what to do. He is bewildered, and he says as much. I am bewildered as to my dharma. मुझे क्या करना चाहिए? And therefore, Shadhima, enlighten me, right? And apravritti, because he doesn't want to do anything. He has sunk. He has sunk in the chariot. Word name, the exact first chapter के last में आता है. He basically sinks in his chariot like that. Okay, inducing a recoil of astonishment, grief, horror, dismay, dejection, bewilderment of the mind, and the war of reason against itself. A collapse towards the principle of वही दोनों words आ गए, ignorance and inertia. Ignorance I am calling अप्रकाशः, inertia as अप्रवृत्ति. मैंने वो श्लोका भी शेयर किया था ग्रुप पे, right? Inducing a recoil of astonishment, grief, horror. When this tamasic guna rises in him, what happens? He's astonished. How can I kill these people who are my own? Right? Swajanam hi katham hatva sukhina syama madhava. अपने स्वजन लोगों को मार करके भला मुझे क्या सुख प्राप्त होगा? ग्रीफ, शोक, शोक संविघ्न मानसः. This comes in the last verse of the first chapter, if I remember right. Is manasa, his manas is shoka samvigna, full of grief. Yeah, correct. Eva muktvarjuna sankhye rathopastha upavishat visrijya sasharam chapam, throwing away the bow and arrow. Shoka samvigna manasa is totally taken over by grief. The spirit overwhelmed with sorrow. This is the translation. Huh? Horror. What will happen? The whole race will be Varna Sankar ho jayega, ye hoga, wo hoga. This will be blood-stained enjoyment. He is absolutely horrified at the prospect of what he has to do, right? Dismay, dismay in different senses. Why can't these people understand? And basically, uh, it's so obvious that this is such a bloody slaughter and everything. Then the sense of dismay that why are we engaging this and what is the purpose of all this? इसका क्या फायदा होने वाला है, right? Dejection, same grief की तरह. Bewilderment of the mind. That's what the tamoguna does. It covers up the light in the mind. Dhaval Bhai had said last time that it is the opposite pole of sattva. So yes, in that sense, it is. That whereas sattva gives you light, it gives you the inner illumination by which you are able to act in a balanced way. Tamas does just the opposite. So if one is stuck in the tamoguna, one simply stuck there. Somehow one has to shrug it off first, and then rajoguna will be there, and then the sattvaguna can come. But as I said, as I clarified, tamas is also the opposite of rajas. So tamas is not good in any way, except that, uska jo transformed form hai, it is a kind of stability. So it becomes shama. In the transformation of the gunas, it becomes shama. Shama means peace, but that peace is not the tamasic kind of peace. It's not that. It is full of energy inside it, but it can still be quiet. That energy does not compel it to act. That's the main difference. Okay, there is total freedom. And it's very luminous. That's the nature of the higher consciousness, the apara prakriti. Okay. Bewilderment of the mind and the war of reason against itself. Yes, a collapse towards the principle of ignorance and inertia. As a result, he turns towards renunciation. ठीक है ना, कि कुछ नहीं समझ में आ रहा क्या करूं, तो let me take sannyasa, let me go to the forest or cave or whatever, mountain top, and save my own soul, basically. Better the life of the mendicant living upon alms than this dharma of the kshatriya. Now, he's contrasting that Buddhist ideal. I had put the quotation on the group. That Buddhist ideal of monks and with the Rajarshi ideal of the Gita, the Kshatriya ideal. Okay? And that is not the way. And one of the main mistakes of that was to create, first of all, he says, the all too easy entry of men into the higher life. So it should not be that easy. You just profess to accept the Buddha Dharma, or even in today's times, we have so many ashrams and so many sannyasa ke path वगैरह है. Shankaracharya had, Dashanami Sampradaya जिसको बोलते हैं. So all these giris and bhartis and Puri and ये Tirtha और ये सारे जो Saraswati, all these 10 names which are there, they are basically started by Shankaracharya. And what is it? Obviously they see some qualification, but this very important phrase there in the text quoted on the group, the all too easy entry of men into the higher life. It just cannot. Sri Aurobindo, how many people he was rejecting? I'll share that letter where he says that I have rejected far more than I have accepted. Yoga is not for the, it's really demands a lot of commitment basically and readiness. Commitment to chalo hoga, but readiness, right? So that all too easy entry of men into the higher level. Of course, I'm referring to that text without posting it here. So time lag jayega. And what did it do? It's very important to dwell on because abhi bhi wo hai. I had again quoted from the Synthesis of Yoga these 3 or 4 sentences wherein he says that life has long gone away. Yoga has long departed from life. Something like this was a sentence. Okay, they have been disconnected for too long a time. They were there in the time, they were connected in the time of the Vedic forefathers. But those forms are too ancient and we have to give it a new form. That is why Sri Aurobindo had to create kind of a new system of yoga. He had to stop using some of the older terms. He doesn't use terms of the अंतःकरण, वो सब वो explain करने के लिए use करते हैं. But he has created his own vocabulary so that as far as possible, the ambiguity which got attached to these terms, some of the extraneous connotations which got attached to these terms, all of them are kind of swept clean, and you begin again on the path of like that. And it's very difficult. He says it's like a virgin forest passing through. You have to hew your path. To integrate life with yoga, वो कहना बहुत आसान है, all life is yoga, all life is yoga, when you have to do it, like that. Anyway, so बुद्धिज्म का एक बहुत बड़ा जो था उसमें प्रॉब्लम क्या कि it created a sharp distinction between the monk class and the layman. Even if you read the books of the Ramakrishna Mission, they write clearly monastic disciples and the lay disciples. So at least thankfully, I mean, in the ashram books, no such thing is there. I mean, okay, the monks who are there, they are somewhat evolved souls and all, but to create such a sharp distinction is not correct. He says the unwise creation. It's not like that. Indian society was never divided like this earlier, right? So this it's a wrong tendency. It can be as it came earlier when that passage of Vivekananda, Buddha, and Ramakrishna came. Okay, certain souls are preconditioned by their past lives or present life development or a combination to follow that path wherein they reject all action. Okay, for them, sannyasa may be acceptable or allowed, but it is not allowed for everybody. And the path which the Gita prefers, this is my last time kiya tha, it's not the external renunciation or sannyasa. It is the inner renunciation, tyaga. Why is the world created if you have to leave the world? I mean, basically, it comes to this. You live in the world only so long as you don't understand the futility of the world, and then you just throw it off. Why was it created in the first place? What is the use of it? He wars for the world and its ultimate years. What has the divine been warring for? What have all these vibhutis been doing throughout the ages? Somehow preserving the world, somehow preserving the knowledge. What for? As soon as a man starts understanding something, you should teach him that the world is an illusion and a falsehood and just go away from here. This teaching should dominate everywhere, isn't it? That's the logical conclusion, but that's not it. There is a purpose in the world. There is a purpose in everything. There is a meaning in each curve and line. Savitri mein line aati hai. So this is the point. Better the life of the mendicant living upon alms than this dharma of the kshatriya. This is Arjuna's, he's going that way of sannyasa. He's tending towards that. This battle and action culminating in undiscriminating massacre, this principle of mastery and glory and power, which can only be won by destruction and bloodshed, this conquest of blood-stained enjoyments. Bhunjiya bhogan rudhira pradigdhan. Bhunjiya means enjoy, bhogan means enjoyments, blood-stained, rudhira pradigdhan.
Bhaiksham. Bhaikshyamapi, something.
Bhaikshyamapi, that is for the alms. Bhiksha.
Beggar.
Correct. That is the word. Bhaikshyamapi. Correct. Second chapter mein aata hai. This vindication of justice and right by a means which contradicts all righteousness, and this affirmation of the social law by a war which destroys in its process and result all that constitutes society. This is the end of the first chapter, the last 7-8 verses, where he says that the whole social order will be destroyed and this and that. So it's not that the social order was destroyed by the Mahabharata war, as some people still think or tend to think. On the contrary, Krishna, I had shared that on the group earlier. I again share it after the class. It's important. Okay, by removing this tyrannical Kshatriya power from India at that time, by cleansing the Kshatriya power, basically, Krishna consolidated whatever was there of the good Kshatriya power. And that Kshatra Teja saved India, he says. And uska jo last wo tha, he says that was there in Rani Lakshmi Bai. And then again he says, he's referring to himself indirectly, mother clarifies it. Another avatar has come to, this avatar will awaken the Brahma Teja, and this Brahma Teja will then awaken the Kshatra Teja. That is what happens. In his writings in the Bande Mataram, he basically, enlightens the country. And that enlightenment and that sense of what India really stands for, that fires up the Bengalis, who are basically a very artistic and, sort of musical sort of race. but they are transformed into revolutionaries. In the Brain of India, he says that no race could have transformed itself in such a short period as the Bengalis have done. वो अलग चीज है, that is, he's explaining the Bengali psychology there, the mentality and the whole constitution. But that was his role at that time. I'll share that. बिना उसको share करे refer किए वो नहीं बनेगा. It'll look like. So yeah, basically this is the he's not saying that this is how it is supposed to be. He's just summarizing कि अभी तक उसका argument चल क्या रहा है. Okay. So if there's anything to discuss here, I mean, I can't think that इसमें और कोई explanation required है. It's quite obvious, right? If there's anything anybody wants to say or discuss, we can do that. Otherwise, we'll move to the next paragraph. Harish is there. Okay. Okay. So
I can read. I can read
please go
if
ahead.
you want.
Please go ahead. Sannyasa is the renunciation of life.
Yeah. Sannyasa is the renunciation of life and action.
Can't hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can. In between, it was breaking.
Acha. Okay, I'll repeat. Sannyasa is the renunciation of life and action and of the threefold modes of nature. But it has to be approached through one or other of the three qualities. The impulse may be tamasic, a feeling of importance, fear, aversion, disgust, horror of the world and life. Or it may be the rajasic quality tending towards tamas, an impulse of weariness of the struggle, grief, disappointment, refusal to accept any longer this vain turmoil of activity with its pains and its eternal discontent. Or the impulse may be that of rajas tending towards sattva, the impulse to arrive at something superior to anything life can give, to conquer a high state, to trample down life under the feet of an inner strength which seeks to break all bonds and transcend all limits. Or it may be sattvic, an intellectual perception of the vanity of life and the absence of any real goal or justification for this ever cycling world existence. Or else a spiritual perception of the timeless, the infinite, the silent, the nameless and formless peace beyond. Wow. The recoil of Arjuna is the tamasic recoil from action of the sattva rajasic man. The teacher may confirm it in its direction, using it as a dark entry to the purity and peace of the ascetic life. Or he may purify it at once and raise it towards the rare altitudes of the sattvic tendency of renunciation. In fact, he does neither. It discourages the tamasic recoil and the tendency to renunciation and enjoins the continuance of action and even of the same fierce and terrible action. But he points the disciple towards another and inner renunciation, which is the real issue from his crisis and the way towards the soul's superiority to the world nature. And yet, its calm and self-possessed action in the world, not a physical asceticism, but the inner ascesis, is the teaching of the Gita. Yeah, what a punchline to end.
Summarizing what is the teaching of the Gita, not sannyasa, which is physical asceticism, but tyaga and inner asceticism. And that is why the Gita also in the 18th chapter, first verse, it begins like that. And yeah, I mean, उसमें 17th chapter में there is yajna, dana, tapa. These three kind of things are defined according to the sattva guna, rajas guna, tamo guna. But I am not sure right now in my mind I can connect the link कि वो suddenly संन्यास और त्याग का question कहाँ से आ गया 18th chapter के beginning में. But it is very deliberately put there before the Gita ends basically because this is the, as I said, one of the most important teachings that not external renunciation but the inner renunciation. That is the true renunciation. Rising inwardly above desire, getting free of ego. Okay, that is what it is.
So Anmol bhai, a question. This inner ascesis means through yajna dana tapa, right? That is what you meant, right? Inner
Ascetic
discipline.
in one word is tapas. In one word is tapas.
Acha.
But yeah,
Uh,
yajna, dana, they're all in that sense. So
okay.
ascesis
Yeah.
means
Thanks.
ascesis means tapasya basically. It is a
Okay.
yeah asceticism जो है ना ascesis, so they are very similar words. So
अच्छा 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 अच्छा
हाँ
हाँ
आप
हाँ
देखो
हाँ
ना
हाँ
उसको ध्यान से. अगर आप उसको बोलोगे सी को you can say as ka also. Say
हाँ करेक्ट
like
करेक्ट
that.
करेक्ट एसेटिसिज्म
One and
हाँ
the
हाँ
same
हाँ
word, मतलब little different form. The root would be the same for both of them. So basically
अच्छा
tapasya, tapasvi. So it is
तब
the
ओके
inner tapasya which is required, not the मतलब not the physical asceticism की बात नहीं हो रही है.
करेक्ट
And
of desire and passion as we studied earlier, right?
yeah. So sannyasa is the renunciation of life and action. संन्यासा वर्ड का लिटरल मीनिंग जो संपत जी ने सिखाया था दैट इज न्यासा का मतलब होता है रखना, प्लेस करना. सो फॉर एग्जाम्पल द वर्ड शिलान्यास, यू ले द फाउंडेशन स्टोन. ओके, सो न्यासा मीन्स टू प्लेस. जैसे ट्रस्ट होती है उसको क्या बोलते हैं, न्यासा बोलते हैं. तो यू काइंड ऑफ प्लेस योर ट्रस्ट इन दैट, मे बी दैट्स व्हाई इट इज कॉल्ड. बट शिलान्यास इज
अच्छा
द
अच्छा
बेस्ट एग्जाम्पल. सो संन्यासा में देर इज द प्रिफिक्स सम एंड न्यासा, उसको जोड़ करके बना संन्यासा. सम मीन्स टोटली एंड
करेक्ट
टोटली प्लेसिंग. तो एज अ सेकेंडरी मीनिंग टोटली प्लेसिंग असाइड, कीपिंग टोटली परफेक्टली आउटसाइड, पूरी तरह से उसको छोड़ दिया. दैट इज व्हाट इट मीन्स संन्यास. Etymologically, this is how
ओके
it is derived. Okay.
अच्छा
Yeah. So sannyasa is the renunciation of life and action and of the threefold modes of nature. Hmm. But it has to be approached through one or other of the three qualities. Now that is obvious. We are in any way in one of these three qualities, तो उसी के through तो approach करेंगे, right? The impulse may be tamasic, a feeling of, now this will be very revelatory कि जो हम दिखते हैं लोग हमको in society or you know somebody we know कि
या
we can try to guess कि from what kind of attitude they have really left it. और हमारे खुद के अंदर, वाई लुक एट अदर्स, हमारे अंदर जो खुद के अंदर ये
करेक्ट
भाव आता है छोड़ने का, सो फ्रॉम वेयर इट इज अराइजिंग. सो दिस इज अ वेरी मतलब ब्यूटिफुल पावरफुल
थर्मोमीटर है
psychological tool which the Gita gives us of these three gunas and of how they are playing inside us. And it is not so easy.
साइकोलॉजिकल थर्मोमीटर है ना
Yeah, correct.
अनमोल भाई
Yeah, kind of like that. Kind of like that. So the impulse may be tamasic, a feeling of impotence. मैं कुछ नहीं कर सकता, you know, I am helpless, that sort of thing. Fear,
हाँ हाँ
fear. So that is why ये मैं कई बार पहले
हम्म,
बोल चुका हूँ कि गीता जो देवी क्वालिटीज में पहली क्वालिटी बोलती है अभयम. एंड फॉर योगा ऑल्सो, फॉर द प्रैक्टिस ऑफ योगा, इट इज एब्सोल्युटली नेसेसरी टू गेट रिड ऑफ फियर. वरना आई मीन आगे जाकर के, आई मीन इट कैन बी अ बिग बिग pitfall. Impotence, fear, aversion.
Anmol bhai, the mother also says no.
Fear
Mother
is the
also says
greatest
that fear is the
impurity.
worst, lowest vibration. No, yeah,
She says fear is the greatest impurity.
impurity.
This is the exact sentence, right? The impulse may be tamasic, a feeling of impotence, fear, aversion. Aversion is a kind of dislike. Okay. disgust, horror of the world and life. ये क्या है ये सब? दुखालयम, गीता में वर्ड आएगा, दुखालयम अशाश्वतम। ये तो दुख का घर है और ये टेम्पररी है। समवेयर इन द आई थिंक 8th or 9th chapter it comes. That is often quoted as the, मतलब इवन श्री अरविंदो जब गीता की लिमिटेशंस पॉइंट आउट करते हैं तो ही रिफर्स टू दिस कि गीता में भी दिस टोन ऑफ पेसिमिज्म इज देयर एट वन पॉइंट। ओके, एनीवे, so horror of the world, disgust, horror of the world, this is the tamasic impulse, or it may be the rajasic quality tending towards tamas, an impulse of weariness of the struggle. थक गए हैं, ताकत थी, ताकत है भी अभी लगती है, बट वी आर टायर्ड, थक गए हैं इससे। एंड नन ऑफ दीज आर द आइडियल वे टू गो इनटू इट। ग्रीफ, डिसअपॉइंटमेंट। ग्रीफ क्यों होती है? बिकॉज कहीं किसी चीज से बहुत राग था, अटैचमेंट, एंड व्हेन दैट सीम्स टू बी गोइंग, and raga is because of rajoguna, then there is grief. That is why he is saying rajasic quality tending towards tamas. Okay? Disappointment, something we tried very hard but वो नहीं मिला, so vairagya. Refusal to accept any longer this vain turmoil of activity with its pains. मतलब इतना दुख है, इतना संताप है, इतनी पीड़ा है, उसके बाद भी मिला क्या? इट्स ऑल वेन एंड इट्स इटर्नल डिसकंटेंट। चाहे कुछ भी हो जाए, संतोष होता ही नहीं किसी चीज से। नो मैटर व्हाट यू गेट, यू नेवर गेट सेटिस्फाइड, यू नो, ऑल
So,
दिस।
Anmol bhai, here all these things can also lead you to these two things so far what we have read. But that means when any of this is satisfied, the reverse is also true. You will tend like to come out of sannyas and lead a normal life,
Obviously,
right?
obviously, but then you can't do it. Then
हाँ.
you burnt your bridges. Most of the time, some people do it, ऐसा होता है, वापस आते हैं। सम पीपल आर कमांडेड टू डू इट। वो जो महाराष्ट्र के जो फेमस सेंट्स है ना, द 4 children, ज्ञानेश्वर एंड ऑल, सो देयर फादर
हाँ.
हैड गॉन इनटू संन्यासा टू बनारस, बट ही वाज कमांडेड बाय हिज गुरु टू कम बैक बिकॉज ही वाज डेस्टिन्ड टू बिकम द फादर ऑफ दोस चिल्ड्रन। दैट इज
अच्छा.
व्हाट, मे बी श्वेता कैन करेक्ट मी इफ आई एम रॉन्ग, शी इज देयर इन टुडेस सेशन। सो बट दैट इज एन एक्सेप्शनल केस। Shankaracharya returned to burn the corpse of his mother. And Sri Aurobindo says God laughed 3 times at Shankara. There he says this because, that still that attachment was there.
Hmm.
Commented on the Isha Upanishad, stormed about India preaching inaction, all that. Anyway, so yeah, you are right. And then when you want to come back, so you burned the bridges. Now what to do? So that's why this is such an enlightening, and इट विल पुट यू इन योर प्लेस, एकदम आपको आपके बीइंग में सही जगह टिका देगी। यू विल बी एब्सोल्युटली, सेल्फ नॉलेज मिल जाएगी कि मैं यहां हूं। विद एन ऑनेस्ट रीडिंग एंड सिंसियर प्रैक्टिस, इट विल प्लेस यू एग्जैक्टली वेर यू आर, विदाउट एनी इल्यूजन्स, कोई सेंस ऑफ कॉम्पिटिशन वगैरह कुछ नहीं। स्वधर्मे निधनम श्रेय परधर्मो भयावह। नो मैटर व्हाट एनीबॉडी इज डूइंग, इट डजंट मैटर टू मी। व्हाट मैटर्स इज टू फॉलो माय ओन स्वधर्म, राइट? And not pretend, all that basically. It's a fantastic book. Or the impulse may be that of rajas tending towards sattva. How? The impulse to arrive at something superior to anything life can give. इससे better क्या हो सकता है? All this is, all these enjoyments are not the real thing. Is there anything higher than this? Okay. जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल, आई मीन, जो वैकुंठवादी हैं या गोलोकवादी वैसे हैं, बेसिकली व्हाट दे आर सीकिंग इज फॉर सम काइंड ऑफ अ हायर लाइफ इन सम अदर वर्ल्ड। उसके लिए वो संन्यास ले करके दे आर सीकिंग दैट थिंग। अगेन, उसकी क्वालिटी विल बी हायर ऑब्वियसली। वैकुंठ एंड गोलोक प्राप्ति इज नॉट इजी, बट द आइडिया इज दैट कमिंग आउट ऑफ कि देर कैन बी अ हायर काइंड ऑफ लाइफ, बट अगेन दैट आइडियल हैज इट्स ओन लिमिटेशंस। To arrive at something superior to anything life can give, to conquer a higher state, to trample down life itself under the feet of an inner strength which seeks to break all bonds and transcend all limits. Somehow the example of Vivekananda comes to mind. Having that inner strength which seeks to break all bonds and transcend. Basically, that spirit of tapasya. And this inner strength is there inside everybody. I mean, Vivekananda is a very great example of it, that is all.
So Buddha
Anmol,
also, Buddha would be the same. Would you,
Who?
because that's what Sri
Yeah,
Aurobindo
Buddha.
also.
Yes, yes.
Hmm.
Yes.
so
Devesh,
Anmol, this line, to see this in our engagement with life, there are about 10 of us on this call. And if you look at it, the biggest narrative in India is that it's all Maya.
yeah.
Life will give you so much of turmoil. And as we proceed in life, we also face challenges. And so the whole engagement to spirituality, wherever you go, you see it's a senior citizen club, to really see the youngsters and anybody engaging to show this part. So I'll repeat this line because since whenever we talk about the power of engaging with life where you have a superior power which handholds you, it's only Vivekananda's name that comes up. I mean, it's shocking that he was there, a long time back, but we don't see this narrative at all. I mean, for me to see why do people take the spiritual path is the first initial ones that you've talked about, because they get too zapped by life, right? So this aspect, Rajas tending towards sattva,
Yeah.
the impulse to arrive at something superior to anything life can give, to conquer a higher state, to trample down life itself under the feet of an inner strength, which seeks to break all bonds
इसके
and
लिए भी
transcends all limits.
Jaina
To
Munis are
even
also a good
understand how
example.
this happens, or
I
tell
was
me.
saying that these Jain Munis ना, they are the most वो hardcore सबसे ज्यादा ascetic जो होते हैं वो वही होते हैं. They have
Hmm.
this attitude of trying to just trample down life under the power of that tapasya and all that. So that is the most ascetic path in India actually. But हाँ, Buddha
Yeah.
is an example of that.
Are you mentioning of the Tirthankaras?
Yeah,
Oh,
who is that?
Harish Desai.
Yes, yes.
Oh,
Tirthankaras, yes, Tirthankaras, and all
hmm.
they basically followers also. So
Hmm.
the most ascetic path.
Right.
Even
Okay.
the extent of, I mean, जो एक एग्जांपल मुझे आता है माइंड में कि चंद्रगुप्त मौर्य, he was just 42 years old at that time. I've heard this. I have not checked the books वगैरह ऐसे करके. But he became a Jain and he basically just let his body waste away and he died at the age of 42 under the influence of Jainism. I mean, as I understand, it's a classic example of India losing a great king at a young age.
Hmm.
But
Anmol bhai,
Anmol, that
I have
doesn't
heard.
seem to be Rajsik. See,
Sorry?
it will come to the next. This line, see, Rajsik is activity and engagement,
Yeah.
right? This line, it starts by saying, because the Sattvic one, which you're coming to, is the next one.
Yeah,
Here
yeah.
he's talking about the Rajsik
Tending towards.
tending towards Sattva. That means the activity is all about engaging with life. But you've
No, you
realized
want
that to
to
conquer,
arrive at something superior to anything life can give. So you're like कि इस life में इससे ज्यादा मुझे कुछ नहीं मिल सकता है. So let me get at something higher than what this life can offer me. All is too little that the world can give. एक line है सावित्री में. So that can perhaps be cited as an example. The whatever this life can offer, whatever I have seen of it, it doesn't seem that it will satisfy me. So is there something superior to this life? That is what it means.
It's like saying Ambanis have everything, but they are still not satisfied. So now they may go to, no, I'm not in
Yeah.
that example, but in the sense of worldly things, they have everything.
Yeah. But to conquer a higher state, जैसे लोकों की बात होती है ना, we hear that there are these higher lokas. So to conquer them, या जैसे तैत्तिरीय उपनिषद है, there are given these levels of ananda, 11 of them. The highest is that of Brahman. So to conquer that higher ananda, but उसके लिए भी some kind of yoga, some kind of tapasya will be required. वो ऐसे ही तो मिलेगा नहीं. Some effort will be needed there. Nothing can be attained without any effort. To trample down life itself under the feet of an inner strength which seeks to break all bonds and transcend all limits. ये बहुत अच्छी aspiration है. This is there. I mean, in all yogis, sadhaks, this is there.
Yeah, but still, this is of that of sannyasa, not to engage
Yeah,
in activity and do
yeah,
this
yeah, yeah, yeah.
breaking bonds by doing
Correct,
activity and
correct, correct,
transcending all
correct.
limits.
This in this ना you are snapping things. आप उनको ऐसे करके snap.
Correct. Yeah,
You are
as you said last time,
yeah,
cutting
yeah,
the knot,
cutting the
not
knot instead of loosening it.
Right.
Or it may be sattvic, an intellectual perception of the vanity of life and the absence of any real goal or justification for this ever cycling world existence. Or else, अच्छा पहले इसी को कवर करते हैं. Or it may be sattvic, an intellectual perception of the vanity of life and the absence of any real goal or justification for this ever cycling world existence. So perhaps if you follow this, you try to go beyond all world existence. यहाँ तो कुछ है ही नहीं. Nothing can be there in the world which can be there, which can be worth pursuing. That sort of an idea.
Hmm.
Or else a spiritual perception of the timeless, the infinite, the nameless, and formless peace beyond. Now, this can come only when, that higher entity is जो लिखा है टाइमलेस इन्फिनिट साइलेंट नेमलेस फॉर्मलेस पीस, जब वो आपको कहीं ना कहीं उसका एक
glimpse
ग्लिम्स
मिला.
या ग्लिमर मिले इन
हाँ.
some form, like for example, the example that comes to mind. So it's a very normal thing, anybody can experience it, that's why I'm saying it. So Sri Aurobindo was in Kashmir uh, after his marriage. He had gone then Nainital and then Kashmir. वहां पे महाराजा भी था बड़ौदा का. So there on the this thing, Takhte Salamoon, Shankaracharya's peak भी बोलते हैं उसको. There he had this
हाँ,
experience
yeah.
of the vacant infinite. But you can imagine, he was a poet anyway, so he loved nature and everything. But in that वो जो high altitude पे खुली वादी में, in that kind of atmosphere, you can get a touch of that. जो वो यहाँ पे बोल रहे हैं, the timeless, the infinite, the silent, the nameless and formless peace beyond. That was just a उसके ऊपर उन्होंने एक sonnet लिखी है. I'll share that sonnet. So then this happens in 1901. But the nirvana, actual nirvana, wherein all this settles into him, that happens 7 years later. So, that वो तो अभी preparatory stage की बात चल रही है ना, that's why I gave that example. Right? So this can happen, मतलब some kind of perception कि कुछ अनंत है, कुछ टाइमलेस अकाल जिसको बोलते हैं. All this activity, इसका जो constant buzz है, is there something which is, total silence, an aspiration for that. All these are ways of entry into it. And again, the gunas are not static, मतलब वो कभी एक कभी वो ऊपर नीचे होता रहता है. Of course, one is predominantly of a certain type, but even these can, कभी ये आएगा, ये वाला राजसिक तामसिक वाला, कभी ये राजसिक सात्विक वाला. All this can be changing like
So,
this.
since you said that, Anmol bhai, that yeah, so predominantly one of them is governing you, but it's
Yeah.
but at any given instant, it's one or the other which is dominant, right?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
question then is
This the
this.
Gita says.
Yeah, this the Gita says, right?
When the
So
sattva is there, then the other two, then this, ऐसे करके, yeah.
So the trigger or this impulse, which is mentioned in these five, in this huge paragraph with those five distinctions, can also be not necessarily from the tamasic. For example, Arjuna himself,
Not
he being a
necessarily.
sattvic, but the trigger came from the tamasic
Yeah.
recoil, right?
Yes.
This next,
Yes.
so उस समय
He
in
is
that event
predominantly,
of
he is
when
a Rajasic person because he's not a
हाँ,
philosopher or sage by temperament. He is a man
but
of
he's
action.
both. No, he's a
But
mix of
he's governed by a sattvic ideal. He tries to
so he's a
govern his
sato
life. He's a
rajo.
क्या लिखा सत्व राजसिक man.
So sato rajo guni manushya, right? Now, sorry, sato rajo
सत्व राजसिक
manushya.
man.
But question is, this trigger can happen due to any event, and in that event, whatever is the predominant guna, that will trigger this, right?
Obviously, yeah. जैसे
Yeah.
शमशान वैराग्य बोलते हैं. So,
हाँ,
by
correct.
chance you happen to happen to attend a cremation or a funeral or some such thing, or you can even see a dead body passing on the road like that. It can give you that, but वो क्षणिक होता है, वो ज्यादा लास्ट नहीं करता है. It
नहीं,
lasts
घर में
only
किसी
for,
की मृत्यु स्वजन की
then
हो
it can
जाती है,
last.
तभी
If
वो
it's a
ज्यादा
close
लास्ट करता
person, it can last for some
है.
time.
हाँ.
But
हाँ.
again, coming back to that fundamental thing, how mature is your psychic being?
करेक्ट.
How much, that is the main word, पता है. श्री अरविंदो को पढ़ रहे हैं तो ये याद रहे, हाउ मैच्योर आपकी अंतरात्मा कितनी परिपक्व हो चुकी है. From the experiences of the previous lives, from the experience of this life, and you can cheat everything. You cannot cheat your antaratma. You cannot fake its actual level. If you will fake, sooner or later it will come to what is its actual level.
So वो अंतरात्मा या psychic being will absorb this impulse and put you
वही
back
वही
in the ground,
वही मैं कह
है
रहा
ना?
हूँ कि जैसे बुद्ध के
हाँ.
केस में, सो द साइकिक बीइंग वाज सो मैच्योर, इट वाज जस्ट वेटिंग फॉर वन ट्रिगर, and he saw
हाँ.
those three things or whatever in the end, that was enough, and tuck, he just left, right? But in such cases in which अभी वो उतना नहीं हुआ है, इतना पका नहीं है, तो वो थोड़ा आएगा, it will add to the growth, and it will help the psychic being to come out. But that's what it is, कि one has to be honest कि how genuine is my seeking. Spirituality, maybe, see, India is a deeply, deeply spiritual country on the whole, if we see. So naturally, we get very fascinated by spiritual things, excited, this, that. और एक वो उसके अंदर उठे, एकदम से वो ज्वार भाटे की तरह आया, and then we do this and then, but वो लेवल नहीं है अंदर से उतना, that real thing is not there. इसीलिए Sri Aurobindo points out, for example, between the difference between mental seeking and the actual call for yoga. So when the mental seeking is there, you will be more like a intellectual follower, intellectual disciple. You are interested, you are doing this, that, study, blah, blah, blah. But when the real call is there, then आप अपने आप को योग में पूरी तरह झोंक देते हैं. Then जैसे आप एक शत्रु के पीछे पड़ जाते हैं हाथ धो के, आप अपने डिजायर और ईगो और अटैचमेंट, इन चीजों के पीछे, मतलब every moment it will prick you that how come I am having this ego. Every moment it will prick you कि how can I have so many desires, मतलब it will just make your life unbearable. That is the call to yoga, or some, that क्या कहते हैं, that longing for the divine, longing for the source of your being, its origin, that sort of thing. So
Anmol, on
yeah,
this part,
yeah,
when we talk about, see, this is where the clarity, we talk about karma being a foundation out of the four things: dharma, kama, artha, moksha, right? So the fact that you've taken birth, you're supposed to do the action. But the action should be that you are giving it to the divine. You're offering it to the divine, saying, my Lord, it is for you. You are using me as an instrument, right? Action is still being done. Aspiration is still there. This conflict that you cannot engage with the world and you will not get anything, and therefore sannyasa is, this is the part that, like, nobody gives a clear path, saying, look, my God, you've taken birth, you're supposed to go through the cycles and the joy and the abundance of life, right? Now let us show you the path, because it breaks down that, look, this is rajasic. See, this is where he's saying that even the sannyasa, if you read that line again, it is coming saying that he's understood that there is something more powerful than all the tools and engagement that I'm doing with life. And therefore, this is the path to take, because it says Rajas tending towards Sattva, the impulse to arrive at something superior to anything life can give.
Yes.
So whatever the three gunas you figured out, isse nahi ho rahi zindagi ka, there is something which has more power. And to conquer a high, to trample down life itself means the three gunas itself under the feet of an inner strength. So he's giving a path saying that the breakdown of engaging with life with the limited three sattva, tamas and rajasic, he's figured out there's something more to it.
yes.
Right?
And आप जो बोल रहे हैं ना कि this is not told, या this is not so well known, etc. That is why Krishna says it is uttamam rahasyam. This is the highest secret.
Right, right.
And what does he say to Arjuna? Why am I telling you this secret? Bhaktosi me sakha cheti rahasyam he taduttam. Because you are my bhakta and my sakha. That is why I am telling this secret to you. ये योगा का जो सीक्रेट है ये मैं तुम्हें इसलिए बता रहा हूँ. This is 4.3.
Right, right.
Because
Got
he is
it.
having that total surrender to Krishna. Anyway, so it is a secret. It is a secret. And the Gita at the end, it gives a kind of disclaimer, warning, etc. It is not to be shared with such type of people. It's still valid. Of course, Sri Aurobindo has declared that yoga needs to be given to mankind. Without this knowledge, we cannot make that necessary next step in our evolution, which is pressing upon us, which is the spiritual stage. True. But still, I mean, somebody who doesn't have Shraddha, who is having the fault finding tendency, I mean, somebody could just find Krishna as the greatest egotist. सब कुछ मैं हूं, रसोहमप्सु कौन्तेय प्रभास्मि शशि सूर्ययोः प्रणव सर्ववेदेषु. Everything is me, everything is me. If you are not ready अंदर से तो you don't have the Shraddha, and therefore you are not ready for this kind of secret as yet. You still need to go through the ups and downs of life. उसकी ठोकरें खाना जरूरी है maybe before you come to this realization that this is the path. This is the integral path in that sense, wherein the purpose of life is also served. Otherwise, what is the purpose of life? The purpose of life is to live life. That is what sannyasa comes to.
Correct. Makes
The
sense. I think what
purpose,
you're saying makes sense.
yeah,
Absolutely.
the purpose of life is to get away from life. It is so oxymoronical and so stupid it sounds. यही तो वो ऊपर बोल रहे थे जो वो monk वाला था. Mendicant living upon alms than this dharma of the kshatriya. अब वो mendicant को कौन दे रहा है खाना? उसको खाना कौन दे रहा है? उसको खाना तो गृहस्थी दे रहा है या क्षत्रिय ही दे रहा है. फ्रॉम वेयर इज ही गेटिंग हिज फूड? ही माइट बी गेटिंग इट फ्रॉम द फॉरेस्ट, ठीक है, मतलब डिपेंड्स. बट एनीवे, सो इट्स अ इट 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 डिस्टर्ब द ओल्ड आर्यन ऑर्डर. वो पूरी कोटेशन बार बार पढ़ें सब लोग, जहां पे वो CWSA 1 से जो है, बुद्धिज्म डिस्टर्ब द ओल्ड आर्यन ऑर्डर. It brought in something, that tendency to shoot towards the highest. That is its contribution. And a lot of compassion and all it brought into the world, no doubt. It has its positives. Buddha himself is one of the greatest tapasvis ever born. So that example of tapasya, that inner strength, being able to trample over everything and just, freedom like that. So those are positives, but जो negatives हैं उसके वो हैं. That's why he says Kalki has to make a correction. Letters में Sri Aurobindo says. Right, 854. Where were we? The teacher may confirm it in its direction, using it as a dark entry to the purity and peace of the ascetic life. Arjun के लिए, ठीक है, that type of condition. Or he may purify it at once and raise it towards the rare altitudes of the sattvic tendency of renunciation. In fact, he does neither. He discourages the tamasic recoil. He calls him a impotent man. Klaibyam masmagamah partha. So he kind of whips him into his senses. क्या बात कर रहा है? Oh, you are such a heroic kshatriya. What the hell are you saying? Get up. उत्तिष्ठ, है ना, गीता में कई बार आता है. युध्यस्व विगत ज्वरः. Fight, free from all this fever of which has come upon you. उत्तिष्ठ
युद्धाय
word भी गीता में,
कृतनिश्चय.
उत्तिष्ठ word भी आता है. हाँ, सब याद नहीं आ रहा कहाँ था, बट उठ. What are you doing? Like that. So, and the tendency to renunciation and enjoins from the beginning till the end, enjoins the continuance of action. I have said this earlier, I am again saying, yoga in the first part of the Gita at least, unqualified अगर हम कहें, it means कर्म yoga. ज्ञान योगेन सांख्यानाम कर्म योगेन योगिनाम. Why doesn't it say कर्म योगेन कर्म योगिनाम? वो जो योगिनाम आया, योगिन, okay, let me explain the Sanskrit. ज्ञान योगेन सांख्यानाम, of those following the path of Sankhyanam, Jnana Yoga. This is the path of Jnana. Tritiya ek vachan hai, that is more difficult to explain, but that is the meaning. Okay. Karma Yogena Yoginam. And of the yogis, the path of Karma Yoga. Why doesn't he say of the Karma Yogis, the path of Karma Yoga? Why? It's not specifically, it's not specified. Why not? Because it is implicit. Karma yogena yoginam. Yoga means karma yoga. Till that, at least in the first part, till the first 6 chapters. बागे yoga word की definition और expand होती है. Jnana yoga is included, bhakti yoga is included, and all that. But the initial definition fundamentally, उसका जो fundamental meaning, that's like no, first karma, then jnana, then bhakti. Core of the teaching का last paragraph, last two, right? So enjoins the continuance of action and even of the same fierce and terrible action. घोरम कर्म. इवन ये जस्ट वर्ड बोलने से ना, घोरम कर्म, हमें कोई दे दिया जाए इस तरह का घोरम कर्म करने को, पता चल जाएगा कितनी भक्ति और कितना सरेंडर है. इट्स नॉट इजी. Anyway, the same, that's why this is to show, not to demean ourselves. This is to show the greatness of the Gita. वो कितने स्टार्क, जो कितनी पोल्स अपार्ट जो चीजें हैं, वो उनको रिकंसाइल करने का चैलेंज टेकअप कर रही है. एंड therefore it is a very challenging book to read also, if you really think about it. खाली ऐसे ही जस्ट ग्लॉस ओवर करेंगे तो वो ऑब्वियसली उतना फायदा नहीं होगा. बट इफ यू स्टार्ट थिंकिंग डीपली एंड एंगेजिंग विद दिस बुक एंड स्पेशली ट्राई टू प्रैक्टिस इट, देन यू रियलाइज, ओ माय गॉड, व्हाट इज ही सेइंग. ये कितनी बड़ी जो ऑपोजिट चीजें हैं, अपैरेंट कॉन्ट्रडिक्शंस. अल्टीमेटली देयर आर नो ऑपोजिट्स, बिकॉज द ट्रूथ इज देयर इज समथिंग कॉल्ड ट्रूथ, देयर इज समथिंग कॉल्ड यूनिटी एंड वननेस. उसके अंदर सब रिकंसाइल हो जाता है. बट व्हाट इज ही सेइंग? He is reconciling what is normally conceived of as yoga, that is peace and delight and all that spiritual kind of state and bhakti and all that. He's trying to make you reconcile that with slaughtering people, murdering people. It's a very stark book that way. हर किसी के, it's not everybody's cup of tea. Anyway, but he points the disciple towards another and inner renunciation. वही घूम पे के वापस उसी पे आ गए. त्याग. Sannyasa is the outer, Tyaga is the inner, which is the real issue from his crisis. Issue माने बाहर निकलने का रास्ता. क्या निकला, आउटकम क्या निकला, which is the real outcome of this crisis, the thing which is supposed to come out, and the way towards the, अब ये very important, the soul's superiority to the world nature. Soul जो पुरुषा जिसको कहते हैं, its superiority to the prakriti. Fundamentals, because that freedom is there. Getting involved in this inconscient, and while evolving out of it, that prakriti dominates in the initial stages. But the purusha comes into his own, the soul comes into his own. It should not be thought of as masculine or feminine that way. ऐसा नहीं है. It simply means the soul within us, the psychic being within us. Okay.
This is Purusha governing or commanding
Nothing got to
Prakriti.
do with man or woman or male or female. वो कुछ नहीं मतलब इससे. It's purely psychological. Okay. Towards the soul's superiority to the world nature, superiority to it, उसके ऊपर है, and yet its calm and self-possessed action in the world. So on the one hand you will think soul superiority to the world nature, तो बस उसके ऊपर बैठा हुआ है, उदासीन जिसको बोलते हैं, उद आसीना, उद मीनिंग ऊपर, आसीना मतलब बैठा हुआ. No, it's not just उदासीना, and yet it's calm and self-possessed action in the world. It's having that, शाश्वती शांति जिसको बोलते हैं, eternal peace and calm, and in that self possession where you have possessed yourself. Self possessed का यहाँ पे real meaning वो है, आत्मवान हो जाना. You have found your soul. Self possessed action in the world. What was the word? Swarat. Where you conquered yourself, conquered your nature. उसमें stages हैं. जितेंद्रिय होना, डिजायर्स को कॉन्कर करना, द्वंद्वातीत होना, ऑल दैट. द्वंद्व के दिन अलग अलग द्वंद्वों का वो बताया हुआ है. व्हाट आर द द्वंद्वस? सुख दुख, मान अपमान, लाभ हानि, विजयन पराजय, जया जयो, like that, निंदा स्तुति.
The 12th chapter has that entire list.
या सेकंड में भी है. एंटायर तो मतलब एक जगह कहाँ पे है नहीं कह सकता, बट these are like several द्वंद्वस given.
वो अद्वेष्टा सर्वभूतानाम वहां से शुरू होता है ना, till the end.
मैत्रः करुणा एव च.
एवच, हाँ.
Right. So that is the process of gaining that inner mastery. Not a physical asceticism, but an inner ascesis is the teaching of the Gita. That's why. पहले भी गीता के पहले जो होता था, there was not this concept of, एटलीस्ट ये अलग से एक क्लास ऑफ पीपल क्रिएट कर देना हु वर सुपीरियर सिंपली बिकॉज दे ran away from life. This was not the Indian society. It was much more integral. The rishis used to have, खैर अभी वो चीज दूसरे फॉर्म में वापस आ रही है. द yogis and big gurus and all, they are trying to engage with the world, but अभी तक मैंने तो जिनको भी सुना है, I have heard 3 or 4 people, I have attended their courses and all, they only talk about mumukshatva and moksha and वही पुनरपि जननम पुनरपि मरणम पुनरपि जननी जठरे शयनम. They don't talk about the, at least maybe the classes, मतलब classes नहीं कहना चाहिए, they are teaching it in such big numbers that they are thinking कि अभी लोग उतने परिपक्व नहीं है कि बता सके. I don't know honestly, but certainly Sri Aurobindo gives the एकदम clear answer कि there is a purpose in the world, there is a, our nature also needs its fulfillment, and that is the, you know, integral way, right? Soul superiority to the world nature, and yet its calm and self-possessed action in the world. Action in the world. मैं self-possessed पे अटक गया था थोड़ा. Action in the world. That yogastha kuru karmani, this kind of sums it up in half quarter of yogastha, being stationed in yoga, engage in action. Yeah. Anyway, the main point is this case, not a physical asceticism, but an inner ascesis is the teaching of the Gita. Not sannyasa, but tyag. I might say here as a correction that some of the sannyasis who teach the Gita या वैसे जो करते हैं, so वो कई बार you feel कि that sannyasa is kind of their uniform. ठीक है, वो उनका एक वो वैसा वस्त्र बन गया है, but they are engaging more with the world more and more. अभी भी वो tendency है to be aloof and all that. वो तो I guess थोड़ा सा self protection के लिए जरूरी भी है, defense के लिए, because then otherwise the ordinary vibrations of the world will swamp you down. आपका वो realization वगैरह खत्म हो जाएगा. But still, you know, that engagement has started increasing. But still, I mean, if अगर वो इस बुक को पढ़ें और उसके principles को follow करें consciously, then obviously things will improve much more. It will not be as Yogesh ji is saying, कि, you know, running away and escapism and not engaging with life. I think
So, Anmol, the last line, again, the most powerful part, he says he points the disciple towards another and inner renunciation, which is the real issue from his crisis and the way towards the soul superiority to the world nature. And yet, it's calm and self-possessed action in the world. So it's saying that when you come to that realization that actually the real substance is the soul, and irrespective of whatever be the three, be it, as he's explained, the three qualities, you're going beyond the qualities and yet engaging, possessed with the knowledge and the understanding that it's the soul only which is governing everything. And then you're acting, right? So I think the goal and what needs to be done is beautifully explained. And then for any sadhak, when you look around, and you say, okay, with the purity of soul consciousness, action is being done in around us. Where are these people, right? I mean, there is these scriptures that have been written 100 years back, and it's for the, at least this is the part I'm saying, we're talking about transforming. The ultimate goal is that humanity should get transformed, that this higher energy will come and transform nature. But I'm saying that is very good, but at least we should have hundreds, thousands of people who are in that soul consciousness and engaging with life, using that power of the Lord to bring in changes for humanity. And therefore, we feel that's the path to take, right? So where are these people?
I don't know. You have to, if your soul vision develops, then maybe you can see them. One thing is, number one, these kind of books are not really read, okay? So somehow we are also blessed that we are reading, it's not an easy book also.
No,
So
no, I agree. But see, the CSR funding, all the touch to make a difference, it's so much done from a Rajsik thing that look, I am an
you are
Ambani or
right.
I am,
You are right.
yeah, it's for my name. I've left a legacy behind. There's nothing
Correct.
wrong. They're doing good
Correct.
work. But
Correct.
when you read the goal of what the scripture is
गोविंदो,
saying,
आप जो कह रहे हैं उसको सपोर्ट करने के लिए आई माइट से, इसमें पहले एक वर्ड आया था फिलैंथ्रोपी और वो सारे जो आए थे ना, एंड ही सेज दे
correct.
आर इंडीड वेरी गुड थिंग्स, एंड जिसका वो है रोल है वो उसको करे, दे आर इंडीड नेसेसरी, और दे विल बी स्पेशली द इवन द लिबरेटेड सोल विल एंगेज इन देम इफ दैट इज द युग धर्मा. सो ही डज नॉट डिनाई ऑल दैट, उस सब का भी स्थान है, बट एज यू आर राइटली सेइंग फ्रॉम दैट सोल कॉन्शियसनेस एंड कॉन्शियसली एक्टिंग एज अ डिवाइन इंस्ट्रूमेंट, ऐसे लोग कहाँ हैं?
अभी तो सिर्फ 2-3 दिखते हैं, मोदी जी है, योगी जी है, मे बी जयशंकर टू सम एक्सटेंट. ज्यादा
Jayashankar is not in a yoga.
not in
He is
yoga,
very
but
brave and courageous and everything, very forthright.
yeah, very
We should
forthright.
not try to see examples only in politics. Politics में it's because it's
जो दिखते हैं, मतलब जो,
stark.
हाँ
हाँ, क्योंकि वो visible है ना, they are kind
हाँ, इसीलिए
all
हाँ
the time they are in your face.
हाँ.
होंगे अलग अलग fields में, obviously without such people there the world cannot run, you know. So
मे बी वी कैन से कलाम, अब्दुल कलाम
I
है.
have a book on Rajarshi leadership, मैंने
हाँ
सोसाइटी से उठाई थी.
हाँ
I think the examples given in that, I think one was given of that Amul fellow, Varghese Kurian.
हाँ
उसका
हाँ हाँ
example
हाँ.
दिया था.
वर्गीस कुरियन, यस यस.
एक एग्जांपल आई थिंक दिया था JRD टाटा का.
हाँ.
JRD टाटा का एक एग्जांपल दिया था. Two examples were these, and there was one more example. याद नहीं आ रहा है अभी. JRD टाटा, बाय द वे, मतलब ऑरोविल को भी उन्होंने सुना है कि ही हेल्प्ड एंड ऑल, सो ही वाज अ.
इवन द टाटास इन जनरल,
मैं
टाटास.
इनफैक्ट कल वो पढ़ रहा था कहीं
हाँ
पे
हाँ
कि नॉट JRD बट हिज फादर Jamshedji Tata. So it
हाँ
seems
हाँ
that he met Vivekananda on his voyage to America. And Vivekananda, and he said, "Why are you going there?" He said, "I am going there to get the technology of steel." And Vivekananda, it seems, said that you should produce such brains in India. And so they decided to start the Indian Institute of Science. And a large amount of money for that was given by Jamshedji Tata.
हाँ. बिकॉज इट इज टाटा इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ सोशल साइंसेस, TISS.
नहीं नहीं, मैं उसकी बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ.
तो
Talking about Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore.
ओ IISc, हाँ 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 हाँ.
So, I mean, that,
इवन रतन टाटा इन द मॉडर्न कंटेम्पररी टाइम्स.
और उसमें इनफैक्ट जो आई शुड मेंशन, जो
हाँ
मैसूर के जो किंग थे,
हाँ
ही वाज द चीफ मतलब जिन्होंने पैसे दिए थे, बेनिफैक्टर. ही वाज अ वेरी ग्रेट किंग एंड ऑल. त्रिवेंद्रम के जो किंग्स थे उस टाइम पे, नाम मेरे को याद नहीं आ रहा. दिस इज ऑल 100 years ago. So, I mean, there are such people.
We have an example of Arvind Eye Hospital.
Arvinda Eye Hospital.
Yes.
हाँ, इन पौंडीचेरी, राइट.
You can tell about it, Shweta.
I don't know much in details, but the founder of Arvind Eye Hospital, he himself got some chronic disease, and due to which he had to leave his military services. And then, but he, even in that state of his physical, it was very actually that disease is it actually creates a lot of pain and distress in the body and all. But still, he was already connected with Sri Aurobindo, and he took the Savitri as his guide, and with that he founded this hospital. Initially he just had 10 beds, and now they are working even with villages, and you can see the work even if you enter the premises. I've gone there for my parents once, and I saw that such a beautiful energy they have. They hold it there. Even all the doctors and nurses and everybody who is working there, you feel that they're holding some vision, they're holding some aspiration. They are in the present moment. They are giving their best. So you see a karma yoga in action. You actually feel it there. And now the whole
Beautiful.
family is engaged, and they are working wonderfully. So what we said, philanthropy and the spiritual depth, I think it's nicely coming together. Yeah.
Right. And Anmol, see, this is the power, as Shweta said, that she could feel it. Like when there is that purity, there is that sattvic oneness saying, my Lord, let us serve because it's you, and we are an instrument. Anybody who, even regular people like us, when we go there, it touches us deeply. It inspires us to be on that path, right? We can feel and sense it. That is the power of this. So it's beautiful. I mean, it's good to hear of such individuals, families, and how they've taken it to an institution now which is serving humanity. Very nice. Thanks for sharing.
I would like to add, even the scientist community, Homi Bhabha did a lot for the world. Though from a Rajasic Prakriti or whatever you may call, doesn't matter. But Abdul Kalam, even Nambi Narayan, the living example, probably.
What is being talked about is a conscious instrument of the divine that way. मतलब जिसकी सोल ने अपने आप को रख दिया हो डिवाइन के अंदर. I am not sure. I don't know मतलब कि how conscious these people were of. They may have been unconscious instruments. I don't know actually. But
based on their just karma yogic approach, I am saying, not meaning the outward perception.
Serving the country selflessly,
हाँ.
thinking of the welfare of the country selflessly and all that.
Yeah.
That Modi is a good example, no doubt. In the field of politics, he and the UP CM are very, very good examples. In my mind, there is no doubt. People say what they want to say, but politics is such a difficult field, and there to have this kind of
requires tremendous absorbency, patience, and as Modi says, no, मैं गाली सवेरे जब तक 200 गाली नहीं खाता तो दिन नहीं शुरू होता. So he's got tremendous
तुल्य निंदा स्तुति.
हाँ. He says, somebody asked him actually, what do you eat and so that you are so lively and all. सबसे पहले जी मैं 200 गालियां खाता हूँ. He was jokingly saying, but such a truth.
Yeah.
It also makes me think in this way, that all this is kind of the supramental force that is actually going through. It actually always makes me feel like that. Even these individuals know how they are.
Very true. Very true. It is making, it's erasing all limitations. Anybody, if he is sincere, the grace is there and there is no limit. You can do anything. No dream can remain unfulfilled. No dream will remain unfulfilled. This is my personal feeling. मैंने धवल भाई के साथ privately भी discuss किया था. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Thank you, Shweta, for mentioning this. For those who don't know, या जितना उतना समझ में नहीं आया अभी तक क्या है ये सुपर माइंड एंड ऑल, you are encouraged to read what Mother and Sri Aurobindo have written about it. Mother spoke about it 1956 onwards when the thing happened, and there is a book called Patterns of the Present by Georges van Breckham. I can send a soft copy of that book on the group, and there extraordinary book. He tries to trace the supramental action from 56 onwards till the time when he wrote that book around 2002, 2003. It's a fantastic book. So, yeah.
I mean, indeed, blessed are those who are in Pondi, who are directly connected.
Blessed but equally responsibility है ना, because आप इस भूमि पर बैठे हैं और इसको ऑक्यूपाई कर रहे हैं, तो you just cannot be like that ना. You have to attain something. You have to have a spiritual realization. Otherwise, anyway.
Like I was saying, but many, even those who are not directly connected, even they are opening up.
Definitely.
They are working in that consciousness.
You
can feel touch. Yes.
Mother said this supramental substance, 1958, she said, you cannot breathe without breathing this supramental substance. So, वो तो 58 की बात करी थी. Since then, one place
That's why
you can
today's
tell.
children also we
Because
see
we are, इस
are
group में तो जितने भी होंगे, I don't think there is anybody who is born after 56. Maybe one or two people, but so for us, we are born in that world. जब हम सांस ही उसमें ले रहे हैं, तो that freedom, that sense of unity, that sense of whole world being one, it is all very natural. And like Harish is, I think, the youngest in this group, close to 30. So Harish नहीं है, चला गया अभी. So उनके लिए तो और ज्यादा natural है. The more you are, it's just. But yeah, one is encouraged to try to understand what exactly Shiv Aurobindo and Mother mean when they say super mind है, ये है, क्या है वो exactly. One should understand, try to understand. ठीक है, we already short
Yeah.
by 10 minutes. Shall we close?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll just stop the recording and pause.